What's up everyone, it's Dakota and welcome back to another modern video, and today I got a sweet deck. It's not any of the normal Jeskai slash Yawgmoth slash Murktide blah blah blah, stuff that we're used to seeing in the modern format. This deck is actually pretty sweet, and I have played versions of this deck before, but this is kind of new, going away from like the infinite turns combo and even just the straight up like, grindy mid range, like blow up all your things and attack you with a huge like Troll King food deck. So we're going to be taking a look at this kind of Jund style Asmo food deck piloted by Tristan JWL, who took it to a seventh place finish, a 6-1 record overall in the Modern Challenge this past Friday. But of course, before we get too deep into the deck and checking it out and all that, I would appreciate it if you would subscribe to the channel if you like modern videos like this, along with gameplay and clips from like the Pioneer format. Like again matches, deck techs, and just general discussion videos as well. I post those as often as I can on this channel. So if that's something, just choose subscribe, ring notification bell. Also, the link in the description down below. There's two of them. One goes to my Twitch channel, so if you want to see live content, go ahead, follow me on Twitch so you know when I go live, and the link in the description to the Discord server as well. Just join, hang out, talk about magic, all that fun stuff. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at Asmo Food. Asmo Food is based around this card, Asmerando, super long name that I'm not going to try to pronounce. So essentially, Asmo will get to give you like a benefit. Like she pulls double duty. So for one, if you discarded a card this turn, you can pay a hybrid red or black to cast a spell. All right, good start. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a card named Underworld Cookbook, put it into your hand, and then you also get the effect of getting to sacrifice 2 foods to have target creature deal 6 damage to itself. Obviously, we know how good Unholy Heat is, and just having a card that is going to deal 6 damage to itself or whatever, just getting to deal 6 damage is going to deal with like the overwhelming majority of the format. So, like, while it's probably not going to be good getting rid of like Ragavans and stuff like that, like the 1 and 2 toughness creatures, when you start getting up to like Delirious Dragon Rage Channelers, you get to like Murktide Regents, you get to ledger shredders and stuff like that that already have a few counters on them. Asmo is definitely going to be super powerful in that respect. So really for her, that's awesome. Uh, but the honestly probably all star of the deck and like what's really going to get your food engine like going over the top is Underworld Cookbook. So you can tap, discard a card, create a food token, and of course you have the added bonus of getting to pay for, tap, sacrifice it, return a creature card from your graveyard to your hand. But really, that card in conjunction with Oval Chase Daredevil just means that you get to make as many food tokens as you have Underworld Cookbook. So how it ends up working is you discard the Oval Chase Daredevil to the Underworld Cookbook. When the trigger resolves, you create the food token. The food token comes into play. It's an artifact, triggers the Oval Chase Daredevil to come back to your hand, and is essentially how you don't like get behind on cards necessarily. Like unfortunately, you have to play Oval Chase Daredevil in your deck, but like I said, when paired with like Underworld Cookbooks, especially in multiples, you are able to kind of go big with like these food tokens to then like really feed into like your Asmo and stuff. Of course, there's like a few ways that this deck can facilitate like this Asmo and getting it like into play. One of the kind of like easiest ways is Finale of Devastation, which is like a way that you could put Asmo into play and then also like technically win the game as well. Should you go long enough for that, but ends up getting like any of these other creatures in your deck, getting like Sanrith Steel Seeker, which 4 mana to like go and get this is like totally fine. And on top of that, also whenever an artifact enters the battlefield in your control, just kind of generates card advantage, whether it's putting a land into your hand, which you want to try to find like your Urza Sagas very quickly. Looks like you have some of these cycle lands like Tranquil Thicket and like these fetch lands and stuff like that. Finding copies of Beseiju to be able to like interact with some of your opponents like problematic like artifact, enchantment, lands and stuff like that. Uh, you also can just find Underworld cookbooks with Urza Saga. Kind of like a staple of these Asmo decks, like since they started up until now, when they do see play, is the fact that they get to like play these artifacts that make more artifacts, which makes the constructs better. And of course, Urza Saga being able to go get a Shadow Spear, and when you have like an 11/11 lifelink trample construct, it's very hard for your opponent to race, and it's very hard for them to not die as well. So Urza Saga definitely kind of like ties the room together. Getting to play like Ren and Six with all of like these fetch lands and stuff was essentially what Ren and Six was like made to do. Especially when Jun was like, "Hey, we're gonna start playing this Planeswalker." Also, getting to pick up your Urza Sagas and like every few turns, just getting to tutor out an Underworld cookbook, trying to get like finally grabbing your Shadow Spear, so on and so forth, and just getting to make a ton of construct tokens makes it very hard. Put your opponent in the abyss constantly because any one of those tokens is going to end the game on the spot. You have cards like Traverse the Wall and Unholy Heat. Traverse being able to get like obviously any one of these. Also getting to search up an Urza Saga, virtually giving you like a fifth copy of like your two most important cards in your deck in Asmo and Urza Saga. Of course, you have like some other like hitters like Springleaf Drum is like fine, just a way to get like extra mana with the Soul Guide Lantern. Also getting to mess with your opponent's graveyard should it come up, and also just getting to sacrifice like draw a card when it's not relevant to get rid of your opponent's graveyard. The sideboard, you have cards like Haywire Might, Pithing Needle, Pirate Spellbomb that you can go and search up with an Urza Saga. Haywire Might just kind of, you know, being a card that can like stunt some offense from some of the more aggressive decks, like maybe the Zoo decks, and burn, and just getting to also get rid of some non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantments in play to then also trigger like the life gain and stuff like that. Pithing Needle, you can just kind of get people with the third chapter. Whereas the Saga, they let it resolve. Pithing Needle immediately goes into play. You get to name something, and they never have a chance to respond to it as long as the chapter 3 on Urza Saga resolves. Pirate Spellbomb is a way that you can mess with the uh, Sanctifier in Vec to just get rid of it clean, straight up, and quit messing with like your black and red cards because it will exile your Overchase Daredevil if you try to do it with one in play. You have like these surgical extractions which can be like disruptive to your opponent, especially if you're playing against like the living end decks and even some of like the other cascade decks when you just take away like their payoff and stuff, and you're kind of able to check, the end result as well. Can be very very good. You have Thought Seizes to disrupt like the combo decks, Veil of Summer to protect your hand from like those grindy mid-range decks, just to kind of like blink some of their spells, try to draw cards and work towards getting like your Asmo, Urza Saga, etc. in play. Trail of Crumbs is like a super card advantage for specifically these types of decks. Makes a food when it enters, and whenever you sacrifice a food, you can pay one to look at the top two cards of your library, and you get to put a permanent card from your hand, you reveal it, and then put the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. With Trail of Crumbs, you are going to have tons of hits just in the main deck alone. You're going to have 53 hits in your deck. So like you're almost never going to miss. You're a very high chance of actually getting at least one card in your hand every time you do this. Also, if you use Asmo's ability to sacrifice foods to deal 6 damage, you can then pay like 2 mana, one for each food token, and get to resolve it that many times, not just paying the 2 mana and sacrificing food to gain 3 life. You have Endurance as another way to mess with like the graveyard decks, of course, like the Murktides, the Living Ends, and stuff like that. Orvar for like creativity, when you just get to, they resolve their uh, they resolve their creativity. They put an Archon into play. You discard this to the Archon. You end up getting a copy of an Archon and making them sacrifice their Archon. And of course, they put two into play. You make this the last card you discard. Target them. They have to then destroy one of their Archons, and then your attack is going to get rid of the other one. So definitely very brutal when this card happens to be in the deck because you get to like turn that game around and that matchup in particular very quickly. of course, getting to like have traverse, which means like you have like a second copy of Orvar. Even though the unforeseen Orvar is definitely more of a shock than the known one, it's still pretty good. Of course, Force of Vigor also rounding out the sideboard is definitely a huge game for a lot of decks because like Hammer and stuff really gets blown out by like a Force of Vigor and stuff like that, and that's really where you want like a card like this in those matchups. And that is the Asmo food deck for modern. Definitely a different take. We're used to seeing like the Asmo decks that build more towards like Grixis or Esper to try to take infinite turns. We've seen the green black versions that kind of go all in on like putting a Troll King into play super early, and of course like building up these giant constructs, putting a Shadow Spirit on like a Troll King or a giant construct, and attacking and just ending the game that way. So definitely interesting build of this deck. Obviously, it's got to at least be halfway decent, at least for like the metagame it played in, if it was able to, crack the top eight of like a challenge. So that's pretty sweet to see. Also sweet to see, I guess, Urza Saga still getting to put in work in just about any deck that's played in. So that's going to do it for me in this video. I hope you all enjoyed. If you did, of course, leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and ring the notification bell so you know when videos of mine get posted. Be sure to go in the link to the description of this video and follow me on Twitch and go join the Discord server as well. I would be greatly appreciated. That's going to do it for me. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope to see you all in the next one.